So I'm Jay Tulloch, I'm head of design at Metro Bank. Is everybody aware of who Metro Bank is? Is there anybody who doesn't know who Metro Bank is? A handful of people. Okay, great. So Metro Bank, we were the first challenger bank in the UK. We were established around 10 years ago. And we have a store presence, and we also have a digital presence. Design within Metro Bank is only 3 years old. And it's a very new thing that we're starting to kind of establish. My role as head of design sounds quite ambiguous, doesn't it? Like, what does kind of head of design actually mean? Over at Metro Bank, it means that I'm responsible for the user experience, user interface, and user research teams. The aim of this talk is to talk you through my first 600 days kind of running a design function and everything that entails, everything that kind of comes with it. And anyone who's aspiring to be a leader or kind of manage a team in the future, sort of things that you might be able to kind of expect kind of on your journey. So this guy up here, he's Stormzy, recently headlined at Glastonbury, a huge inspiration to me. He's the biggest selling UK rap artist in the UK. At a very young age, he's achieved a hell of a lot career-wise. And there was a recent interview with Stormzy post-Glastonbury where he actually was asked, how were you able to prepare for all of the responsibilities that came with this success, with this new position within the music industry? And Stormzy's response was that he wasn't prepared, that nothing actually helped him to manage the expectations and the breadth of what he was now going into. And that struck a bell with me, because when I first embarked on this journey as head of design, I was promoted. I was kind of the lead UX designer, the first UX designer that the bank hired for the mobile app. And kind of transitioning into the head of role, I did tons of research. I was all over Medium. I was all over Google, YouTube. And there's so much material, even the talks here today, so much material on how to be a great leader, how to lead design teams, how to build design systems, design ops, and all the different facets to it. But there's nothing that really manages your expectations as to the realities of design leadership and what leading a multidisciplinary team actually entails. So initially, when I spoke to kind of a few peers and, I said, yes, I'm head of design now. It's a, yes, mum, I've made it moment, right? It's time to show your old bosses how it's done, put all of those wrongs and kind of make them right. It can't be that hard, can it? All your old boss used to do is attend meetings and write emails and press send. But you soon establish that there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot more to it than just the design, and I'm not going to be speaking specifically just about design today. I was trying to encapsulate what it actually means to kind of make that transition into a design management position. And I was pondering as to kind of what could that be? And I was listening to my Spotify playlist, and then Stormzy's #1 song, Bossy Bot, came on. And the opening line actually captures everything that I was feeling when I made that transition early on. The opening line is, you ain't got a clue, let's be honest. And it's a fact, when you're making that transition, I've had 10 years as a practitioner. But when you make that transition into leadership and you're leading people now, you're starting again, you're pressing reset, and you truly do not have a clue. Because there's all this new stuff that you have to think about now. Yes, there's the design, but there's design and there's line management, making sure that your team are happy, that they've got the environment that they need. There's vendor-client relationships, and it's not the fact of, okay, we need this tool, we're going to purchase it, but you need to build rapport with these people so they can actually assist you and you can collaborate with them further down the line. Design and product strategy, roadmaps become a core part of everything that you do. You need to get to grips with budgeting, financial management, business management. You need to learn terms like OKRs, KPIs, CapEx, OpEx, what that actually means. I've actually embarked on a master's, a business-focused master's, just so that I can communicate better with senior stakeholders. You have to navigate around different departments now as a head of. Risk, compliance, procurement, fraud, human resources, recruitment, the rewards teams. The list goes on and on and on. And all of this has nothing to do with design, does it? So that means that your mindset now has to change. You have to do a complete shift in how you think and how you approach your job on a day-to-day basis. And that starts with humility, and taking a step back and realizing that you're no longer the best designer in the company or in the business or in your team. You might have been top of your game, you might have been rewarded and recognized for pushing good results, but now you're responsible for nurturing the next generation within your company. You're moving from a position of responsibility to accountability. I was responsible for the results on the mobile app. I helped to get it from a 2.4-star app to a 4.8-star app, along with the rest of our feature team. I had to relinquish that responsibility, but I was still accountable for the outcome, negative or positive, at the end. And that's a huge mindset shift that you have to adjust to. Your success is measured in quarters now, or yearly, rather than 2-week sprints. You're not getting that constant feedback or validation on the work that you're putting in. There's a line from Training Day with Denzel Washington, and his character, Alonzo, says to the junior detective, "This is a game of chess, not checkers." And this is back in 2001, and although I understood exactly what he meant, I didn't truly get it until I was in this position. Because everything you're doing now is strategic. You're thinking a year down the line, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line. What does design look like within this business? But don't worry. The previous slide and this slide isn't to kind of scare you. You have support, you have mentors available to you. I have about 4 mentors that I liaise with regularly. One of them is in the audience today. And they have a wealth of knowledge on their shoulders. They've been managing teams for over a decade. One of the main things which is a shock to your system is that if you're scaling a design team, you have to switch contexts quite often. Since becoming head of design at Metrobank, we've scaled from a team of 5 to a team of 25. We've scaled from working on 3 feature teams to 16 plus feature teams. What that means is that as a head of, you need to be contextually aware of everything that's going on each of these projects so you can best assist your teams and give them the knowledge that they need to improve on their designs and their outcomes for their projects. To give you some context on this, on the left-hand side, you can see my calendar as a lead UX designer. Lots of blank spaces, and if you look on some of those, it's just me basically arranging lunch with my friends because I had the luxury of that time. This is last month on the right-hand side. It's filled with one-to-ones, not just with your direct reports, but also with other heads of department. It's full of vendor meetings, building those rapports, senior stakeholder management too. And you're on the steepest learning curve that you're ever going to be on. Making that shift from practitioner to manager is a huge jump. There'll be language barriers. You need to speak the language of other business areas and understand how to communicate design in a way that adds value to them as well as your team and also influences the business overall. You have to learn new management techniques. You still have to keep up to date with kind of latest design trends, but you might not always have the time. But fortunately, if you have a talented team, they'll keep you in the loop. You have to learn the art of negotiation, and you need to do this in every aspect, in every single meeting that you're involved in. There's a great book on this called Never Split the Difference. It's a big yellow book. I forget the name of the author, but it's on Amazon. Go buy it. It's brilliant. Senior stakeholder management is a huge part of everything that I do now. I've tried to move away from having huge slide decks, trying to validate a case for design and why we should be going in a certain direction. Now it's all about showcasing what design means and getting that in front of the senior executives so that they can buy in, and it's working so far. You need to get comfortable with delegation, but delegating in the right way. We all have jobs that we don't necessarily like doing, but don't offload those onto your team. They also have jobs that they don't like doing, but they don't have the luxury of delegation. Instead, what you need to do is try and identify specialisms and skills that your team have uniquely to them that will allow them to get some jobs that you've been tasked with done a lot faster, efficient, and more efficiently than you can, and of a better quality. Because a lot of the time, they might be a lot closer to the product itself, and they'll be able to assist in that way. It also gives them exposure to other areas of the business too. There's a book that actually goes into some details as to kind of how to manage this too. It's called The Making of a Manager by Julie Zhou. She's VP of Product Design at Facebook. Fantastic book. It's been mentioned a few times actually, kind of through these talks. And it's absolutely fantastic. I've read it cover to cover twice. Lots of insights. But one thing in particular that this book actually helps you with is the different scenarios that you will end up in as a line manager. Because you're going to have really, really, really difficult conversations. Unexpected conversations that you never would have seen coming and nobody really prepares you for. As I mentioned, there's no content online that prepares you for this kind of thing in the design space. There'll be performance reviews, HR issues, personal issues, conflict resolution within your own team and also other disciplines. There'll be challenges against design and against the business. And of course, that old chestnut, everybody thinks they're a designer, right? Everyone has an opinion on what your team are doing and how they should be doing it. But you can stay firm to your core values and principles and provide that challenge back and have those difficult conversations to protect design, protect your team, and also protect the overall user experience. But you also have some amazing moments as head of a function. There'll be development opportunities. As head of design at Metrobank in particular, I've probably been, over the last 600 days, on around 15 different training courses, stemming from interview techniques all the way through to performance reviews, giving good news, giving good feedback. It's really, really useful. And once you've exhausted all of that, they have advanced level kind of training material at Metrobank too. So you feel really supported. One of the best things about being a head of design is that you start to formulate a design language, a design style, and you start to see that consistently shaping through all of the products and platforms as you start to implement new processes. And the great thing about that is you get to showcase it, and your team gets to showcase all of that good work. One of my favorite things is that you also get to deliver really good news to your team. You get to notify them of pay rises and promotions. And you also get to shape what design looks like within an organization. But there'll be lots of battles, no doubt. Because we're solving complex customer problems, aren't we? And everybody within the business is involved. They have an insight to the customer as well as we do. They're invested in the end product. And at Metrobank and at other places, Metrobank in particular, because we are a 10-year-old bank with a 3-year-old design team, we're battling against cultural and technical legacy, which can hinder innovation. We're battling around constraints, around regulation, around legislation. You also have to battle around project resourcing. Once you do a really good job of showcasing the value of design, you will find that quickly people want more of it. A good example of this is siloed projects. When I first became head of design at Metrobank, it was my first week, and I discovered that there was all these projects happening all around the business. I was like, what the hell is going on? Why is this happening and my team aren't involved in this? There were internal colleague-facing systems as well as public-facing systems. But the key here is to pick the right battles and knowing when to kind of ramp up on the assertiveness. And the aim is to be assertive, not abrasive. So pick the siloed projects which have the most impact on the customer and on the colleagues. Be assertive, but not abrasive. You don't want to burn any bridges. What you need to do in this situation, how I handled it, was come from a point of empathy, understand where they're coming from. Why are they doing these projects? What are their goals? What are their ambitions? And then identify where design can actually help. What you'll quickly find is they'll be coming to you and say, we need a UX designer, we need a UI designer, we need research. And they'll keep coming back. And that's where we are today. One thing in particular that they don't prepare you for when you're making the transition to kind of management from practitioner is that there'll be losses. And Metrobank, we're a rapid growth company. We've grown year on year heavily. None more so than this year. We've ramped up from a team earlier this year of 7 to a team of 25, a blended team of kind of contractors, consultants, and perm. We've now got a design ops function, a research ops function that we're developing out. And when you're in a rapid growth environment, there's lots of ambiguity, isn't there? There's lots of unknowns. You don't necessarily know what's coming next or what's around the corner. And not everybody's comfortable with that. And attrition is real. Because eventually, some people will leave your team. And as a new head of design, as a new manager, that hurts. to your core. And you aim to be better prepared for next time. Aim to manage expectations of anyone new that you're bringing into the company. Because we are moving so fast. You need to get adjusted to the fact that deadlines won't always be met. Especially being a bank, we're held to regulation. So if a regulator puts something forward to us, we need to be able to kind of adapt to that and kind of serve that and provide the regulation outcome. Decisions won't always favor UX, and your bad days will feel so intense. But you can't do it all yourself, and that's why you build a solid team around you of experts. The good thing, though, is that you'll form some really solid relationships around your company. You'll form bonds with new peers. You'll gain exposure at much higher levels throughout your company. And all of that makes it very easy to connect the dots so that you can provide your team with the right context for their project work. And eventually, you'll find shared goals that you'll be able to drive towards together. And you might actually find that you're having a lot of fun whilst doing it. Collaboration is addictive. Your professional network will widen, and you'll get asked to participate in new and broader projects. So at Metrobank, because we have actually shown the value of design, we're getting asked to participate in things that are outside of digital. We get invited to participate in stores. We get invited to participate in branding. We get invited to redesign our paper-based forms that are handed out to customers and that customers have been struggling with for years, because they understand the value of design thinking and how it can be applied in other areas of the business. Eventually, you start to build a narrative, a story, and you get invited to share it on platforms such as this one at US Live. Stormzy has another line in the same song, Vossibot, just before he goes on to say some provocative stuff about the government and Boris Johnson. He says, "You'll plant a few seeds to make a forest." And that struck a bell with me because that is so real, that is so true. As a new head of design, I'm very ambitious, very optimistic. And I remember in my interview, I was sat in front of a panel of directors. And they were like, "Jay, what are you going to do for us?" So I pulled out a massive timeline of things that I wanted to achieve as head of, because we had none of this stuff. And it's really important to me. It's really important to my team. Clear design process and principles. Having a solid team structure, career progression. Mature design, research and operations. Best-in-class tooling and ways of working. A well-defined design system. Really important stuff, foundational stuff that you need in order to become effective within a business, especially a business as large as Metrobank. Ultimately, all of this stuff will help us to create seamless, joined-up experiences and a design-led culture. And the last one is extremely important to us, because the design-led culture empowers design. It empowers our users too. The directors looked at me, and they smiled. And they looked at my timeline and said, "Okay, tell us again, when are you going to deliver this then? All of this stuff, all this good stuff. It sounds really good, we need it." And I said, give me 3 years. And they looked at me and they said, "Jay, you're going to have to double that number. 6 years is more realistic." And that's quite disheartening to hear. So I set out in my first 600 days to make sure that we've got the ball rolling, at least. But one thing I did take away from that interview is that they were right, that you will plant a few seeds to make a forest. But in reality, after your first 600 days, you end up with a neatly trimmed hedge that you and your team are beginning to feel really, really proud of. You've got the basics right. You'll achieve a lot of what you set out to do. You'll start the conversation on the rest of it. And there will be compromises and losses and battles along the way within those trenches. But I promise, if you take some of these learnings that I've found about myself and about the role, you'll get there eventually, and you'll do it extremely well. Thanks for listening. You've all been amazing.
Thank you very much, Jay. What a way to open up. Brilliant lessons for all of us in there. And thank you very much for sharing so openly your own journey as a design leader, which gives us all an opportunity to learn from it. We have got plenty of time for questions now, which is in many ways even more valuable moment. So what I'm going to do, I think we have another microphone at the back. Can you come and help with the microphones? Thank you. I'm going to give you this one first while we get the other one, okay? If you could just say your name and what your question is.
I'm Azadeh, and I'm interested to know if you do the design management and people management at the same. Do you have both responsibility, or is it separated in your company?
Yeah, so it's all under one umbrella. So I have to manage the kind of workloads kind of within the team. I have to manage the team members themselves and kind of have one-to-ones and kind of line manage them and make sure that they have the support that they need. But also that, you know, we're not under-resourced and not over kind of, I guess, piling on the workloads kind of on our team members too. Luckily, we have a structure that's forming kind of within the team. We have kind of managers, so I have a UX manager and kind of UI manager that help to kind of assist and kind of navigate around some of that when it comes to the work side of things, so I can concentrate more on the people. Because when you become kind of head of kind of a function, your role shifts. It's less about the kind of design on a day-to-day basis. It's more about the people on a day-to-day basis and kind of whether or not everyone's got what they need.
Hi, I'm Hina. That was really helpful. What would you do differently in your 600 days? Like, what would be your one bit of advice?
I'd probably start smaller and try not to kind of do so much at one time. I'd probably try and kind of focus on like something and try and get that done kind of extremely well kind of before trying to kind of tackle the rest of it. Because we're moving so quickly and we are bringing people into the team kind of very often, you get that compelling feeling to kind of get everything addressed as soon as possible. But really, what I didn't realize is that there is actually enough time to start to kind of get things at a lot more of a kind of slower pace, which means that you end up with a kind of a better result at the end. So kind of a lot of these things might be, or some of these things might be done kind of extremely well, and then you can kind of use that to work on the rest of it. So I'll probably start off a bit slower.
So we've got a question over here, and then we'll come to you two as well.
Hi Jay, thank you for a very inspiring talk. So before you got there on your journey to head of designs, what were the milestones or the things that you did that you think got you there, and or maybe the things that you would have done differently?
Yeah, I think I was quite fortunate, to be honest. I've always been thrown into the deep end. So, like for instance, I studied product design, specialised in design for human factors. And when I graduated, I created myself a job. I taught myself how to code, became an intern somewhere, got promoted very quickly, and then they just literally threw me in the deep end, and I was speaking with the kind of CEO of the kind of Royal British Legion, for example, and having to run those meetings or kind of speak to the execs at various London borough councils, kind of at a very young age. So that kind of gave me the confidence to kind of speak kind of more publicly, but also at a senior level, and also kind of convey the message and the objectives of the business, and also kind of what design actually meant for us. So I was quite lucky in that sense, and that kind of bled on through kind of my career. I gained quite a lot of kind of exposure. And it was very much the same kind of here. The opportunity for kind of head of design kind of came up. I was a kind of senior lead for a mobile app. And it came my way and I just got kind of thrown in, just like that. And you just kind of got to crack on with it. And I think what it is that you need that self-confidence, you need that self-belief that you can actually do this. And you need that humility to understand that, yes, you're new to the position, but you're on a learning journey. And you need to take your ego away from that and say, this is the job that's at hand. I might not get to where I need to straight away, but I'm going to learn along the way, and I'm going to become better at the end of it.
Thank you. We've got two questions just back there, and then we'll come to you, and then to you.
I want to ask, what is the tipping point of you to really start saying like, okay, a certain team member is probably not a good fit for the team? And if that happens, how would you tackle this kind of situation, giving advice to that person, or deliver the bad news to that person? Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, that hasn't had to happen. I think, fortunately enough for me, it's because we've got quite a rigorous kind of process when it comes to recruitment. We have quite a defined kind of set of questions that we ask around kind of culture. Culture is very important to Metro. It's how we've built that brand over the last 10 years. It's how we've been able to grow year on year. And kind of culture is very much part of the, I guess, initial assessment, kind of when we're speaking with kind of potential kind of candidates. So we get a good sense of kind of whether or not somebody will be able to kind of fit in with our team, kind of based on kind of their experience. A good one that I'm going to start kind of implementing and kind of asking is kind of how comfortable people are with change. Because that's one thing that I've identified kind of as I've kind of shifted into kind of this position, is that not everybody is comfortable with change. Not everybody is comfortable with kind of not knowing what's around the corner. And so much has happened since I've been at Metro Bank. In the 3 years that kind of I've been there, I've worked at 4 different offices. We've grown so much over this time. And you never know where you're going to end up next. And you need to be very, very comfortable and kind of assured within yourself that you'll be able to do the best that you can do kind of on a project under these circumstances.
Great, thank you. Here you go.
Hi. Yeah, so thanks a lot for the really good talk today. Also a massive Stormzy fan. So,
Good man.
I wanted to ask more about what you discussed about being mentored. And, obviously I see that as really important to developing your own career and probably mine as well. So I wanted to know a bit more about how you went towards kind of finding, the right kind of mentor for you. Well, I mean, was that kind of a selection process that was taken out of your hands, or that you had, kind of saying? And what kind of tutelage are they offering to you as well?
Yeah, that's great. So I've built good rapport with with my kind of former leaders. I've learned lots of lessons, and I've been able to kind of build a relationship with them where we can be quite candid with each other and kind of give honest feedback to each other. So that's almost kind of built a friendship. So after I've left, or even if they leave, we're still in touch. So that helps, if you can kind of build that sort of rapport. Alternatively, and kind of this is the only, I guess, mentor which is kind of outside of that. It's from a kind of company called Beamer. So kind of Beamer provide mentors to kind of anyone from various different industries. And kind of my current mentor from Beamer has a wealth of experience kind of in consulting. He's part of kind of one of the kind of big 4 consulting groups, and senior management in particular. And that has been really beneficial from an organizational point of view, because they've come from a similar place to kind of where I am now. And they've helped to shape teams for over a decade. And so that's been really, really beneficial to my growth personally. So if you don't have that, I guess, easy access to mentorship kind of within your own kind of relationship circles, then I'll definitely go to Beamer, because they've got some really great mentors that you can kind of choose, and you can select them, they don't select you. So that's a good thing as well.
Cool. We have time for one more question, which is going to come to the front here. Sorry. There we go.
Hi, Jay. My name's Lisa. Actually, just in relation to the previous guy, his question, I'm a mentor for the UXPA, so that might be a good organisation to go to as well for advice.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, great talk.
Thank
you obviously talked about the last 600 days. I just wondered what your plans are for the future, for the next 600 days.
Yeah, so kind of as I mentioned kind of in the previous slide, there's a lot that we're doing at the moment. So everything on my list is getting done. But the most important thing for me is that team aspect of it, making sure that we have the right positions within the team. We're very kind of reliant on kind of contract support at this moment in time, because we have grown so fast and we can't recruit at the rate we're growing. So I want that structure in place, and that's very key for myself and also the growth of my team, so that they can aspire to kind of move into different positions in their career, and as we grow as a business too. Another thing is just maturing research and design operations as well. We've started that process. We've got research ops. We've proven the value. We've moved from a position where we were testing back in 2017 twice every quarter. Now we're testing 20 times a month now. So we've really kind of made a significant shift there, and I just want to kind of mature that. So that's kind of key for me. Design ops is also very key. Build a design system that will allow us to move a lot more kind of efficiently as we pick up new projects. We'll start to work in much more of a kind of leaner way, much faster way, and we'll be able to get more results and just kind of ship more product to kind of customers that add value to their lives.
Wonderful.
Cheers.
Jay, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for your questions, which just deepens the conversation. So, Jay, thank you once again for sharing so openly and honestly, with all the humility that you have, your journey, which sounds like a fantastic journey. It's a great lesson for us all. Thank you very much. A round of applause again for Jay. Thank you.